What makes you stressed in a game? Yeah, games are for fun and relaxation, but a lot of the time they can also induce a feeling of stress or panic. Maybe you're in a difficult level and dying resets your progress. Or maybe you're 400 runs deep into a boss and you're finally at the width of their health bar. But for me, nothing compares to the amount of stress you feel when you see a big number go down. But like to 0. Time limits. They've kind of got a reputation in causing sheer panic and stress. They add pressure, they remove your ability to go slow. It's such an easy way to add tension that it's cheating almost. But there's a lot that goes into making a time limit good, and there are many types of time limits too. So let's get into the secret sauce of time limits, why they're so good, and all the different types of them. Probably the most famous example of a time limit is a sequence time limit. A sequence in a game where a time limit is present. Easily the most prominent of these is the escape sequence. The Wario Land style of games have these front and center, as when you beat a level, you have to go back to the beginning of the level in an escape sequence. To me, Pizza Tower sells the panic and anxiety of these sequences the best. You're familiar with how the level went before, but with the blistering speeds that you go through, it's really easy to make a mistake. There's a genuine threat that you might run out of time, and if you do, you have to reset the entire level. Anton Blast, on the other hand, resets the escape if you die, which makes sense. It's less about speed and panic and a lot more about power and thrill. Plus it's balls hard, you're gonna die anyways. There are many escape sequences that aren't just bound to the end of a level. Resident Evil has a tradition of self-destruct sequences. You've got to get out of whatever hellhole you're in before it blows. Ultra Kill has you escape the giant mech you just fought before it blows. Metroid, we're gonna talk about Metroid later. All of these games do their escapes in different ways, but what unifies all of them is the big ass timer in the middle of the screen. Yeah, knowing how much time you have and seeing that time slowly dwindle really makes you feel like you only have that amount of time left. But go beyond escapes, go beyond the big ass timers, and there are so many different types of time limits out there. You just gotta get a bit wonky with the definition. Case in point, deadlines. Instead of having a specific countdown of time, you're reaching a certain point in time. The most famous example of a deadline is in Majora's Mask, the 72 hours before the moon comes crashing down. This is such an iconic scene for so many reasons. The atmosphere is so tense and depressing. The moon is just right there. The constant reset of the days throughout the entirety of the game is so bleak. The only way to stop your terrible fate is to just postpone it. It's a different stress than, oh my god, I'm gonna die, but it might be worse. Pikmin also has a global deadline. The game is about foraging for parts of Olimar's spaceship, with each expedition taking an in-game day. You've got 30 days to rebuild Olimar's spaceship, and the end of those 30 days is the end of the game. And I know you were thinking about Metroid, we'll get to Metroid later. These are awesome time limits, as the usage of days instead of minutes or seconds is almost treated like a resource instead of an actual amount of time. Another example of deadlines would be the Persona games. Since the games work through days and months, they have a very notable aspect of time management. You have to decide what you'll do in a day. Will you spend time with your friends? Will you work on your own stats? Will you grind, visit areas? Managing all of this can get really difficult, as you can't do everything in a day. You're gonna have to pick and choose your darlings. These systems of passing days are great for time limits, but haven't you noticed that days themselves are a time limit? Take Minecraft for example, which has a day and night cycle. You've got 7 minutes of daylight, and during the night, mobs spawn. In the early game, without a bed, without a shelter, that's actually a very scary time limit, since death means the loss of your inventory, and if you can't find it, it's basically a full reset. Terraria also has a day-night cycle, and while there's nothing inherently scary about night, most bosses can only be fought at night. This leads into a very interesting scenario. If you fail to defeat the boss before daytime starts, they disappear, or worse, they become a super boss. This can actually happen in casual gameplay, especially if you start a fight later in the night. Day-night cycles as time limits implies that cycles themselves can also be time limits. Rainworld, for example, works through cycles. You can do whatever you please, explore the map, find resources, but eventually, rain starts to pour. And if you don't find a shelter and are as snug as a bug in that shelter, can't be that bad. The droning, the screen shake, the intensity of the sound, the fact that you're not actually guaranteed to find a shelter or have enough time to make it back to your old one. It all compounds to make this time limit stressful. Waves can also fit into cycles. Think of something like Decaying Winter. Hordes of zombies come in waves and you have to go deal with them, but once you're done with the waves, you get limited time to scavenge for resources. And I mean limited, you do not get much time. The deeper you go into the map, the better loot you'll find, but you also have to make it back to your base before the fog comes in. But the deeper you are and the longer you stay, the worse your odds are of making it home. Having limited time to prepare for a threat as opposed to limited time being the threat is a unique way to add stress. You don't get to outrun the timer or stop it from hitting 0, you just need to get ready for when 0 comes. Did you think about Metroid yet? Metroid's later. Papers, Please is a similar situation, but with a different vibe. The game is about flipping passports and making sure the right people get let through the gates. Each person you successfully let through or detain gives you more money, and you need money for things like rent or heating. You're not exactly wealthy, so you want to deal with as many people as possible, but passing someone you shouldn't pass or detaining someone you shouldn't detain gives you a citation. Enough citations cut into your pay. The juice that makes everything flow well is the fact that each shift has a time limit. You want to deal with as many people as possible before time's up to maximize the amount of money you can get, but go too fast and you're bound to make mistakes. The time limit serves into forcing you to play quickly lest you go destitute, and that high-speed gameplay is what makes Papers, Please so thrilling. But not all time limits count down to your doom. In fact, some of them count down to your rescue. Picture Five Nights at Freddy's. You're stuck managing these animatronics and your power supply from 12 AM to 6 AM, and that timer is agonizing. 8 minutes has never felt longer. It's nerve-wracking being so close to 6 AM while having no power, and the animatronics won't exactly stop annoying you either. Not to mention that stupid fucking music box. Not knowing exactly when the hours change and just praying to God that 6 PM comes sooner rather than later is very stressful. Not all time limits are specifically a mortal scenario. Instead of being presented as a threat, some time limits are an opportunity. Take an invincibility power-up and like any game ever for an example. You're not punished when the timer reaches 0, you just lose a very powerful ability. The better you are at the game, the more you can do with that limited time. Or what about gacha banners? You've got limited time to roll the character you want, but if you miss the window, it's not the end of the world. You're missing out on an opportunity. It allows for the pressure of a time limit without so much the fear or the stress. There are so many cool examples of time limits, it's impossible to fit it all into a video this small. There are sequences where you fight against the time limit, like in Pizza Tower. You can extend your time limit just enough to last until the next extension, meaning it's a constant tug of war between you and the timer. There are sequences of slowing down an impossible timer, like in Kirby and the Forgotten Land. You're using an ability that allows you to slow down the game, including a UI timer. But the way to keep on slowing down time is to kill enemies, making it a mad dash to the next enemy. And who could forget Sonic drowning? Because, you know, it's Sonic drowning. I could go on, but I'm gonna stop right here to talk about one thing. I shot my pants playing this game. Metroid to me is the golden child of time limits. Most, if not every game, has an escape sequence serving as the finale, where you gotta escape the exploding whatever the heck you're in before it blows. From the original Metroid that gave you 999 seconds for one room? That's 16 minutes! The newest entry in the series, Metroid Dread, which looks so fucking awesome, I want this game. These escape sequences are incredible ways to add heart-stopping footnotes to the game, probably aided by the fact that they come out of nowhere. To me though, nothing beats Super Metroid's escape sequence. It happens immediately after the loaded final boss. The screen shake, the pulsing, the music, the alarm sound that follows you everywhere. And it's not like Super Metroid is an easy game. You might legitimately struggle with this. Did you think about Metroid? Yeah, wait, the bit doesn't work anymore. Super Metroid actually has multiple escape scenes, as there's one at the start of the game. You beat Ridley, escape a lab, you know, the usual. But for me, it was actually very stressful. I just randomly started playing the game from Nintendo Switch Online. I had zero idea what was gonna happen, and then I want my mother. This scene with the rotating camera is the coolest thing ever, though. Oh my god. That sudden shock of being thrust into the escape and not knowing anything that was gonna happen, that was once in a lifetime. A very stressful lifetime. Why is there a timer running? Does anyone know why there's a timer running? Time limits are great gimmicks in games. They can induce feelings of anxiety, stress, panic, but they can also induce a looming threat, or time management. They serve different roles in different games, like being a rescue to the player or forcing the player to act quickly. Minutes, days, even weeks can be time limits in certain games, as long as they're given the proper care and the proper attention and What? Oh, it was just my food. I forgot what I put in there, so let me go check what tasty treat I... Oh, fuck.